Good morning.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Ambition for Breakfast, where we're bringing you food for thought
and inspiration for your soul. Today, we are so excited to have Maram Aoudi on our show.
She's an amazing boss babe. She is the Senior Manager of Influencer and Relations and at Haus Labs. She also has some previous work experience at Lush and at Bite Beauty. She's just an overall boss babe, and she has made her dreams a reality in terms of creating this amazing network of influencers and a supportive community that are lifting her up along the way. And so you guys are going to be so inspired by this episode with her.
Yes, we're so excited. We get the opportunity and pleasure to work with Maram and have for the last few years. And she's just made such an impact on our company and on our influencers. And you guys are going to be in for a real treat because she has such a unique approach to business, and we can't wait for you guys to hear all about it.
So this is the perfect start to your morning, and enjoy the episode.
Enjoy. You guys, I am so excited about this episode today. We have my very good friend on, Maram. Maram is the Senior Manager of Influencer Relations and PR for Haus Laboratories. She's an absolute girl boss. I'm so glad to have you on. Thank you for having me.
Welcome.
I'm so honored. You guys know how much I love to talk, so.
Yes, yes, we do. Oh my gosh. Maram is like a friend of the industry. She's a friend to everybody. Everybody knows Maram, and you just have this contagious personality, laugh, spirit about you. And we're just so excited to talk about everything, how you got to where you are, and you are the ultimate breadwinner. So this is going to be so much fun.
Well, thank you.
Girl boss.
I love you both so much. That was.
Oh, we love you.
I didn't bring tissues.
We love you. I want to talk about, okay. From the very beginning, I want to talk about how did we meet?
Well, we met before we actually physically met. It was really because I was at Bite Beauty,
right?
And we met through Manal from Wake Up and Makeup, and we just met like via email for a while. And then it was weird because then I quickly made the switch and moved to the States, and it was crazy because I remember Manal being like, oh, you can hang out with B all the time because she's out there. And I was like, really? And also for anyone that's watching or listening, I'm the worst at geography. Not only am I the worst at geography in general, but like when I moved here, people would be like, oh, you're going to be here. And I was like, cool, how far is San Francisco? Can I come to you in a day? And they're like, oh. What is wrong with you? So I remember when she was like, oh, you guys are both like in Orange County, Anaheim, and I was like, wow, I have a friend automatically off the bat. And then we like met my first week here also by accident.
Yes,
because you're coming into the Two Face offices.
Yes,
and then we went for dinner. I remember that dinner place.
That was so yummy for taps. I know. So, and then honestly, like the first time that we met in person was when I was throwing like a Bridezilla fit at AIA Awards getting ready because I couldn't find my
oh my God, yes.
And I didn't care who was there. Mustafa was there, Bethany Krellin, who's the founder of AIA Awards, was there, and John was there, and Maram and Manal were there too. And I threw a fit, like the biggest diva fit ever. Like, I can't find my lashes, and I had like presidential hair from Mustafa, and it was really
not a first show.
Well, what's crazy is that B is talking about it as if like she was like being crazy, and I remember thinking, she's so sweet, because it's like the first thing she did. And actually, oh my God, for a second, I forgot about that. How could I? But it was so sweet because she turned around and I was like hanging out with Manal in the corner, and I'm like, oh, I'm not cool enough to be in this room. Like, I gotta be quiet. Like, everyone's getting their hair done, and I'm like here, like, you know, just doing my best, you know. I put eyeliner on today. And he turns around like this magical angel, and she's like, hi. So nice to meet you. I'm so sorry. I can't find my lashes, but it's so nice to meet you. time out. Like, so like, even though she's like saying that she was, you know, acting like a bridezilla, you know, whatever. I was like, no, we're like, my lashes. I'm so nice to meet you.
Oh my gosh. I don't know how I blacked out. To be real. I was so stressed out. Yeah, that was back in 2017 at the AIA Awards in November. So that's insane. But I know. And now look at where we are. It's insane.
Yeah.
I feel like I would love to start at the very beginning with you, like how you got your start, the brands you've worked with, and where you're at now.
Oh, man. Yes. Let's go down
The journey.
Mm-hmm. So, I, you know, went to school for PR. I, you know, originally did political science. You know, growing up as a child, I wanted to work for the UN. And then one day I actually was walking in the mall. So oh, wow. I haven't talked about this in a while, but I was walking around the mall and I walked past a Lush store, and it was like the Lush store had just opened at the mall, and they had in the display these like cupcakes, like, you know, and I was just like, wow, cupcakes, like they don't make cupcakes anymore. Like, you know, this was before cupcakes came back and had like their really strong moment. Now I feel like we're missing cakes. Like we need to bring back like the original cakes. Yes. Just saying.
Excuse me,
but
sure.
And I walked in because I thought it was a cupcake store. And I started like talking to the manager, and we really hit it off. And then she was like, hey, do you want to consider like coming to work here? And like, and they had just opened, so they were like looking for people to work. And I was like, yeah, sure, you know, cool. Like I like soap, you know, I didn't really know all the things that Lush was about. And I started working there, and it was the most incredible experience, the most incredible company. And it really like shaped the person that I am. And I remember saying to my, like, you know, going to my guidance counselor in university and being like, hey, like, I don't know what I want to do. Like I have this PR degree, like I'm going to graduate this year, I have this political science degree, and I don't know what to do with it. And she basically was like, I think you'd be good at PR. And I was like, oh, what is that? Mm-hmm. I looked it up and I was like, yeah, I can do this. This is cool. And then I emailed the like PR team at Lush and was like, hey, I want to work for you one day. Like, what do I do? And they were like, go to school for PR. And I was like, all right, I'm doing it. And then from that day, I basically kept applying for like any job that I saw at Lush to get into head office. Got into head office, and that's how I got my foot in the door into the beauty world, and worked there for about 2.5 years. Then I moved on to Bite Beauty, and I got to experience Bite, which was another incredible brand. I'm so blessed. I've only ever worked for companies that have been amazing to me, amazing products, like things that you can, you know, like products you can really truly stand behind. Then I went on to Too Faced, and now I'm at Haus Labs.
Wow, what a journey. And I want to know too, at what point did you realize, okay, influencers are the next big thing in social media, and I need to integrate this into our marketing strategies?
Yeah. So it was interesting how I got my start into influencer relations. So I actually, before I ever got my job at Lush, me and my friend back in, you know, London, Ontario, Canada, we used to stay up at night and watch YouTube videos together. So like that was our thing. Like that was our jam, as we would sit there and watch YouTube videos and be like, ooh, and then we'd make our shopping list, go to Sephora the next day, buy everything, you know. And when I got my job at Lush, I was doing social when I started off. And that was really when influencer relations was really, people were starting to realize like it should be integrated into marketing. And you know, I would see that people were featuring Lush on their own, and I kind of was like, well, hey, like, let me just, it was when like Twitter was the thing, you know, and I was like sliding into people's DMs on Twitter. And I remember thinking no one was ever going to get back to me, but I was like, hey, I might as well like connect with them, say thank you, you know, and really that's how it kind of got started. Cause then we were like, wow, like the beautiful thing about Lush, and again, like the majority of the companies, or all the companies I've worked for, is once you get the product in people's hands, like that's it, you know? And so like with Lush, it was at the beginning of influencer marketing, and all I ever wanted to do was get people to enjoy a bath, like let's bring back taking a bath, let's, bath art and all that stuff. And it really kind of kicked off from there.
This was also way before like people were talking about self-care too. So I think now people are like, oh yes, you need a bath bomb, you need to relax and unwind at the end of the day. But it was different like when you were actually working for Lush. That wasn't really the culture yet.
Yeah, I think, self-care has definitely come a very long way. And I think, there's nothing more, no one's going to love you better than you're going to love you, so taking the time out and just taking like those 5 minutes, 10 minutes, like I'll be honest, like, people always make fun of me because even when I had, college roommates and stuff, my baths don't last more than like 10 minutes. I put the bath bomb in there, I sit and I'm like, new, amazing 10 minutes and I get out. But those 10 minutes mean so much to me. And I think like that's the beautiful thing about self-care is it doesn't matter like what it is, it's yours. You own that. So whether it's you want to do a bath, whether you want to have a face mask on, or whether you want to just sit on the couch for 10 minutes and have no one talk to you, like it doesn't have to necessarily be attached to an activity that's like standardized by society. It's like, it's yours. You do whatever you want. For the longest time, for me, self-care was putting olive oil in my hair, like soaking my hair in olive oil, doing a face mask, and watching a reality show. And that was it, and then like that was my thing. And you evolve, and as your personality evolves, so should your self-care habits.
So what do you do to take time for yourself now? Like if you have a stressful day, how do you unwind and relax?
So my favorite thing to do currently is I've kind of stepped away from olive oil in my hair. I should go back to that. That was so awesome. But I actually recently got a bike from Amazon.
Mm-hmm.
And I've realized, like, I think the beginning of quarantine, I self-cared a lot in the sense that like I did face masks, I did hair masks, I took baths, and those have been awesome. But as my quarantine has evolved, now it's like if I'm sitting there and I'm watching TV, I'm like, hey, you could be pedaling on a bike and still watching your reality shows. Like there's, and it's funny because you're watching shows where people are out and about, they're living their life, they're on the beach, they're doing their thing. Yes. And I'm like, okay, so I'm going to sit here and I'm going to just do it while I'm on a bike. So that's become my new self-care. And I actually have to say, like, if I don't do that at some point during my day, I feel like my head is like suffocating. It's weird. Like I feel like I'm like trapped. Like that's almost my breath of fresh air now.
You need those endorphins. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
What do you ladies do?
Oh, to unwind? I mean, this is bad, but like, even though we're on our phones all day, it's like at the end of the day, I do just like to scroll and like just like catch up, see what everyone's doing. For our influencer team now, it's so big. It's like, it's always someone's birthday. I like to just like go in, give someone a comment and like, and yeah, just like I have my phone in my hand and like I'm half paying attention to that and half paying attention to watching TV.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I hate to copy that exact answer, but that's the same for me as well. And then, so we obviously started this podcast. And so the podcast Instagram, Karen's been killing it with, and I can totally relate because when I started I started another personal page to document my weight loss journey. And so like, that's kind of been my outlet too. And I actually can't even watch TV anymore. Like I'm not interested in watching TV or movies. And how I can never like really unplug, but working out too has been really helpful. I do work out with a trainer at least twice a week. And so she'll come in and interrupt my day at like 1 p.m. and I will take an hour to work out with her twice a week. And because I've been able to do that, I do feel a lot better. But
yeah. I think it's like, it's almost like that's part of the norm. Like that's what brings me back to like normal, because it's so funny because I've always exercised in my life, but like I've never been excited to exercise. You know, like once I get there, I'm like, great, this is good for my body. This is good for my joints. This is good for my like, you know, but I've never been like the process of getting me from my house to the gym has always been a challenge. But once I'm at the gym, I'm so happy.
Oh, yeah.
So it's funny because I feel like now exercising at home has become the one thing that I have like connecting me to my past life of like, this is something I can do super easy. Like I don't have to have a mask on. I'm doing it at home. Like it's great. And it's just, it just keeps you active. So yeah. And like, it's funny what you guys were saying about social, because it's so true. Like so much of our life is spent now on social for work with what three of us do, that you don't get to like look back at social and interact and like be like, oh, what is, you know, like I'm not looking at it from a work perspective. I'm looking at it as what's my mom up to?
Right.
Yeah. It's
You know?
harder to enjoy when it's your job and you're like living and breathing social every day.
That's true.
Yeah. So now it's like at night too, like that's when I go through and I'm like, what's mom up to? What's her story? You know, or like what are my sisters doing? But it's crazy because like social has kept us all so connected throughout quarantine, which is amazing. And something I always used to say is my family lives in all different parts of the world. So thank God for Skype, FaceTime, you know, the platforms that have been able to keep us all connected, because it's a blessing, you know, for all of that technology.
I love that we're talking about this because we had Jasmina on our show too. And so it's kind of the same thing with us three. Like we're separated by like at least an ocean, like between our families. Have you been able to see your family this entire quarantine? Were you able to go home at all?
So I did, but I think one of the biggest struggles for me is, you know, obviously like my parents, you know, high risk. So I definitely, for me, it's like, I don't want to take the risk at ever being the person that, you know, like even if I had it or, you know, someone got it through me or something, like, I just don't want to ever be that risk. So that's why like I've been keeping myself at home. But me and my dad, we FaceTime every night, you know, just even for like 2 minutes, we just like, I'm like, hey, how are you? What's going on? Same with my mom, you know, I you know, FaceTime with her or messenger her and I'm like, hey, how's it going? How are you? You know, so I've like definitely been with my parents, like, let's talk every single day. Let's check in every single day. Right. And I've really been thankful for that. Yeah. I feel much more comfortable with that because it's like, I'm not necessarily as worried about me as I am about my family and my friends and everybody else.
Well, and that's what keeps getting me stuck at this place too, because I'm like, I just selfishly want to so see my family, but then also we run a business, and if I come home, I need to quarantine for X amount of time too. So even though Hawaii is like on a completely different system and like they're doing really, really well, but it's just like, you know, just even thinking about like the work part of it, how I'm going to be away from work for a month. If I go out to Hawaii for 2 weeks, that's me away from work for 2 weeks. Even though I'm going to be working on my computer and stuff, like I'm not going to be in the studio with the girls, you know, and then I have to come home and then quarantine for 10 days, which I'm like, that's another 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Do a month off of, you know, not seeing everybody.
Yeah. And I think the thing that I struggle with too is like, if I go home, like I'm not quarantining, like going home to see my dad, for example, like we're quarantining in the same house to me is like such a high risk.
Yeah.
I'm like, and like, I love my dad, but he's going to be like, oh, you know, he's going to open that door and he's going to be like, hey, did you eat today? Or
yeah.
a snack? And I'm going to be like, Dad, close the door, you know, like that's not what, so I don't want to risk any of that. You know, and I did get a chance to go see my family in Dubai, but like for that one, like I quarantined and, you know, got tested twice before like I interacted with, you know, the world. And so it was that like that one, but that one, like, you know, you're paranoid for so long. Like I was like, oh man, like, so that's why I'm like, just stay put.
Yeah. No,
well, I know. Luckily now too, if your dad is over 65, he does qualify to get the vaccine now.
Yeah.
Hopefully that all changes soon.
Yeah. Just, you know what, like it's a moment in life that like, you know, just best to be like super responsible. And you know, everyone's going through it, so we're gonna all evolve together. And just, I'm like, I'm gonna just sit here, follow the rules, do my thing, you know, stay at home, like nothing is,
I'm proud of you,
worth it, you know. I do go for my walks around my apartment. That's what, like, around my apartment building. And Trader Joe's has become the place where I wear eyeshadow.
Yes, love it.
You know,
I know, and just like so many other things have changed other than just, you know, being home, like us being away from our families. And I just want to, like, you know, let our whoever's listening in know, like, Maram is more than, you know, just like her position. She wears so many different hats. She holds down so many different relationships, especially with, like, with our influencers. Like, I know exactly like how much she communicates with them, and it's a lot. And she's become such a friend to every influencer that we've worked with. And that's just our roster. And I know that she does that with so many other influencers too, and just so many other brand managers and, you know, and managers in general. And so I really commend you for just being able to be such a, I mean, really just truly such a friend to everybody. I wanted to know, like, how has, you know, influencer relations and marketing for you changed, and how have you kind of like, I guess, evolved with it?
well, you know, I think one of the biggest things that I like to stress is, so I'm a huge extrovert, you know, Leo, all the things. And it took a while for me to actually be like comfortable with the fact, like, I'm such a huge extrovert, you know, and like we've talked about that in the past. I think for the longest time I was like, oh my God, why am I so loud? Why am I so, you know, like, but that's who I am, you know, it is what it is. But one of the biggest things for me that I love the most about my job is the fact that I get to be friends with so many people. I've always wanted to make friends. You know, the like idea for the longest time of like no new friends was like never a thing for me. I'm like, why no new friends? Like, why am I, you know, just be friends. And I think like that's what's nice is through this role and my career, I've had the opportunity to meet so many incredible people, so many amazing people, and they truly become your friends every day. So like keeping in touch has never been a huge issue, you know.
Right.
Whether it's, you know, connecting with you, connecting with Bari, connecting with Jasmina, it's just like, you guys are my friends, you know, and in California, you are my family. That's who I'm here with. You know, I obviously, like, you know, me and you have also talked about in the past, like, you know, having friends and getting comfortable with your personality and your shine. And those are all things that, you know, being protective of your energy. So I think like that's a huge thing too, is becoming friends with people, but while still making sure that your circle is amazing. And thankfully my circle, I've been so blessed that my circle has been amazing. You know, every, like, your roster that you speak of is incredible. It's filled with amazing people. You know, like Karen and I met at Too Faced once, and you know, you exude amazing energy. So I think like that's a huge thing, is people's energies is really important. So it's easy to stay in touch with the ones that give you that positive energy back.
I have a question too, just for our influencers who are listening. You know, there's so many influencers out there, so much talent in the world. When you're scrolling, like what jumps out at you to signal, okay, this person is really special? Just for our influencers, if they want to get noticed, like what tips could you provide for them?
One of the biggest things is passion. I think passion always jumps off of a page or an Instagram account, you know. Consistency in posting, you know, staying engaged with your fans, with your fan base. Like those are the things that I look for, because a huge thing for me is everything is about building a positive, beautiful community, you know. And you can see, like, so for me, every job I've had, it's always been about building a positive, beautiful community, whether it's the team that you're working with internally or influencers that you're working with externally. So when I look at influencers, I also look at like, what is your community like? You know, are you engaging with your community? Are you posting? Are you, you know, engaging with them in that way? And that's really like the thing that I look at, because artistry evolves over time, you know, content evolves over time. I have evolved over time. So I don't look at someone and I think, okay, your content is great now, and that's it. Because we all change, we all grow, we all become different human beings. You know, one day you might be really into red lipstick, another day you might be really into like, you know, super like lavender. I don't know. So I don't look at someone as like, what is your content like right now? I look at it, how are you engaging with people? What kind of energy are you putting out with your feed? Can I see your passion through the consistency of your posting? And those are really like the main things that I look at.
Yeah, I think that's so important too. It's like, no matter what's trending, you just need to be authentic to yourself, and like don't just do things because you think that's what people want to see. Like it all just comes back to being true to you.
Mm-hmm. And you truly see that when you look at someone's engagement as well, right? So, and that's the beauty of, again, every place I've worked at, you know, and even like speaking more in relation to Haus, like Haus is such an incredible brand, and artistry to us is whatever you like, it's your artistry, it's our house, your rules. So there's no such thing as like, this is the, you know, Haus way of doing things. You know, we're all about express yourself. These are tools for self-expression. Do what you want with them. Express yourself. As long as you are expressing yourself and you are happy and you are being kind and you are a positive individual, that is, you know, those are the things that are amazing. So it's all about really engagement, because it's, are you putting out, even if, like my thing for me has always been, even if you're putting out something and it's going to 5 people, are those 5 people your core 5 people? Right. And that's like when you look back at like marketing from back in the day of like word of mouth is huge. Like, you know, when B tells me there's a certain eyeshadow palette or there's a certain foundation or there's a product that is life-changing, I listen to her and I'm like, all right, let's go check it out. And that's just because trust and word of mouth is still so huge. And, you know, when it comes to influencers, that's really what you see through engagement.
No, absolutely. And it totally reflects in your guys' work, and just like how you're able to pick such genuine influencers to work with. And it reflects, like, honestly, it's like wherever you go, like we're going with you. So, you know, and I love that too. And I just get so excited for you. And because, you know, it just seeing you like coming into a different role where you're like jumping in front of the camera for Haus and you're creating that community. I feel like community is such a key thing to bring up, because, you know, Editor was very much introduced to this when we took on Bianca, who loves Makeup 91. Bianca is probably one out of 5 influencers who has like the biggest community following, right? And she built this up through doing Facebook Lives, through doing lives on IG, and it has been absolutely insane to see, because also community converts, right? So bringing it back like to the business portion, like community absolutely converts. And then we see like other, you know, other categories too. Like, for example, whenever anybody comments on like Jasmina's post, like in the first hour, she always comments right back. Like to me, and I always tell her, I'm like, this is how her and I like basically met, because she commented back to some of my comments back in the day, like 5 years ago. And I was just like, oh my gosh, I love her. And it just means so much, just taking that extra step as an influencer, not just posting something because, okay, I need to get something up today on the feed, and you just post it and then you back away. Like, it's so important to just then follow up and, you know, try to get more involved in your community of followers. And I kind of also like what you were saying earlier too, about how you're very extroverted, and, you know, how you have like a certain shine, and how like you like to protect your energy. I wanted to know, like, just from like a business stance, like, with your amazing personality, have you ever run into someone who's tried to dull that shine?
You know, I wouldn't say it was necessarily, also, as you said, shine. I tried to dab down my forehead. I talked about that before. I'm
what are you talking about?
You know, I don't, ooh, I wouldn't say it was necessarily like industry, you know. I think and then this was really in relation to every human. I think we've sometimes met people that maybe, like for me, there are people that I meet that I'm like, I know I'm a lot for you, you know? And I think really the core of it is like, and when I was younger, I used to be like, oh, why doesn't this person like me? And like, you know, I went through obviously my stages of, I, you know, needed to work on my confidence. I needed to work on like the things that I was like, why do I seek validation? You know, why am I, you know, spending time with people that like maybe when I left them, I felt exhausted because at the core of it, I wasn't being myself. And really that stemmed from the fact that at that moment in time, I maybe, you know, lacked the confidence in myself that I needed. And I think one of the most important things is, you know, really looking into yourself and looking at, okay, why do I need this validation from this person, or why? Because that's ultimately what's dimming your shine. I don't think that, you know, people look at you and they're like, I'm going to dim your shine. Because ultimately, even if a person is like, I'm going to dim your shine, it's more about you're allowing them to do that. And right. So it's, why are you allowing this person to do that? Why are you giving them access to your energy? And that's where I say, like, you know, you protecting your own personal energy and protecting your own space. It's, why am I allowing this person to affect me in this way?
Right.
And really it stems back because I used to have she's still a friend, but I remember sitting down with my friend and she said to me one day, you can't control what other people do. The only thing you can control is how you react to it. Right. And still to say, whenever I catch myself in a moment, I'm like, I think back to that. It's like, I can't change what you're doing, but I can change how I react to it. And so that's a huge, huge thing for me is I look at, so it's like, that's when I was, you know, I looked at things that were sparking my anxiety or sparking my self-doubt. And I'm like, why am I doing these things? And what is triggering those things? And ultimately, that's when I looked at, there are things you just have to let go of. And there are things that you just have to accept. So for me, it's like, I've accepted that some people may not like me, and that's okay. That's totally fine, because as long as I lead my life, and I say I try my best to lead my life with kindness in everything that I do. I, you know, try my best to always be welcoming. I try my best to always be friendly and, you know, welcome everybody with open arms. That's the best that you can do. Because, you know, when you leave a conversation with someone, people aren't going to be like, oh my God, you know, she was too nice. And even if they say that, they say that. But to me, when someone says she was too nice, I'm like, hey, I'm down for it. Like there's a thing for us with Canadians. Also, I ramble, so feel free to cut me off. There's a thing like with Canadians that, you know, I always joke around about is like, if I bump into someone, or I always say sorry, and my sorry is my excuse me. So it's like when I want to say like, excuse me, can I do something? I'm like, sorry, can I get this? Sorry, can I do that? And it's a Canadian thing. And well, I think it's a Canadian thing, but people have always said to me, why are you saying sorry? Don't say sorry. Don't say sorry. But now I'm like, you know what? That's my thing. I'm gonna say it. And like, if you choose to be like, yeah, you're wrong, then it's like, that's you. But like, I'm gonna be comfortable with my personality, because it's so exhausting to try to be somebody else. And that's what I say when I come back from some, like spending time with someone. If I feel depleted, it's because I wasn't being myself. I wasn't being 100% genuine to me. And that means that something needs to be evaluated there.
100%, girl.
Rambled. There's going to be so much editing.
I love this
down.
Oh, I think, okay.
Very supported too. Am I back?
Yeah, can you repeat that?
Yeah, I can hear you guys. Sorry, unstable connection. I was just saying, I love that you feel very supported. And I think, you know, Breanna and I both, you know, being in publishing, we were in this world where there were women who, you know, were intimidated by younger editors and who didn't feel like, you know, there's room at the top for everybody. Do you feel like social media is kind of a different world just because a younger generation will be more tapped into like trends and what's going on, almost more so than, you know, older people in the industry?
At the end of the day, we all, like, each generation has their trends. We all have our cycles. We all have our, you know, I'm in my 30s. So, you know, like I was around during the 90s and I saw the trends of the 90s. So it's like seeing them come back. Like we all have our different trends. We were obviously the first generation to experience, not like we're the last generation to ever experience not being on social and then being on social, you know? So there are advantages to us and there are advantages to younger generations. And I guess my big thing is, and this, you know, surpasses like younger or older, or, you know, we all have our journey. We all have our paths. I have friends that are significantly younger than me that have their own businesses, that are entrepreneurs, that have built empires, you know, and then I, you know, have friends that me and them have elevated to, like, we're on the same level, that are like older and they were mentors at certain points. And I just think your journey is your own. The number one person that you should be competing with is yourself. The only person that you should be comparing yourself to is yourself. We all have our own different paths and we all have our own different objectives. We all have our different goals. You know, I have friends that, like, their biggest goal was to be on Forbes 30 under 30 and they achieved that. That was not a goal of mine, you know. So there are different things that we're all working towards, and ultimately you got to just stay centered with yourself. You have to look at what your career goals are, you know, like, be like back in the day when we used to talk, like owning your own business was your goal. And you know, but that's the thing. It's
right.
That has not been my thing. So it's like, just from a young age, be like, hey, like, truly in 15, 20 years, because I also am not a believer in like setting, like, I'm not like, in 5 years, I want to work at this company for this. Like, the universe has led me in so many different paths, and I've gone places that if you would have asked me 10 years ago, would you be living in the States? I would be like, oh my God, absolutely not. Like, I would never have expected that for me. I would have never thought I'd have this opportunity. So I let the universe lead me on my path, as long as I'm like, in 5 years or in 10 years, I want to be happy. I want to feel fulfilled in these things. So I look at my goals as like more to like help me with my like, how do I value myself in this universe, you know? So it's like, for me, in 5 years, I'm not thinking I want to be a VP of blah, 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 blah. I think in 5 years, I want to be happy and I want to be impacting this world in a positive way.
I love it.
So
love that. And you will be, and you already are. You're killing it.
I love you.
Oh, I love you. That's so amazing. Honestly, I'm just so proud of you. Like, it just, you know, even you coming in and jumping onto like the Haus Labs page and just, you know, shining in other different verticals. It's so nice to be able to, like, even, you know, when some of our staff is able to do that, like, it just means a lot. It means a lot to us because the brands are seeing that we're able to, you know, grow our communities that way. And you've just been like killing it all the way around, been so positive. When everything first kind of happened, when, you know, everything was shut down, you made sure that you jumped on Zooms with a lot of like the talent that we represent. I always saw like you were on Zooms with everybody, and, you know, huge influencers, because I would always see like on stories and stuff, people tagging, and you've done such a great job with that. I want to know, like, what has been like a career, like your career highlight to this point?
Oh God. Honestly, I don't know if I feel like I have a career highlight. I think I am proud of myself in general. You know, I look at the people that I've met in my life. I look at my personal journey, my personal life journey, the growth as a human being, my learnings, my, you know, that. And then I also look at my career and I think, wow, like for me, like as a monster, you know, that like one day I would get the chance to work at Haus Labs, you know, like I still remember the first time I heard a Gaga song, you know, and like even just being able to work with some of the people that I've been able to work with, like, you know, my boss, my team, the people that I've met, those are the things that I'm just so thankful for. If I was to look at something that I'm proud of, I truly am proud of, you know, my journey at Haus and being able to be on social. You know, like there's so many things that so many people that have taken chances on me, you know, like when I was at Lush, our director of communications, who's the most beautiful person inside and out, she was also like my first mentor, still my mentor. But she was one of the first people to take a chance on me and bring me into the beauty industry. And she was one of the first people to be like, hey, do Facebook Lives. Do like we used to do this thing called Lush Live. I'm not sure if they still do, but she was like, hey, like, do you want to give that a shot? You know, and even at Haus, like when, you know, my boss, also beautiful, huge, beautiful individual, human being, best person ever, you know her. But even her, like when she was like, hey, do you want to do stories? And I was like, and, you know, so those are the moments that I think I'm most proud of, is when someone recognizes things in me that I didn't have to fight for. Like I wasn't like, please put me on Instagram. You know, it was like someone's like, hey, you love makeup and you do makeup in your own way. You know, sometimes you're applying eyeshadow with your fingers, whatever, girl, you do you. Do you want to come on and share some of your insights on our platform? Like that's so amazing to me. So yeah, those are probably my moments.
Oh,
I love that.
what is it like too, being on the opposite side of that? Like you had people who believed in you and now you get to kind of open the door and change the lives of a lot of influencers, because being featured on Haus Labs is just, it's game changing.
Yeah, I mean, we have the most beautiful community, and I think, you know, like sometimes when I do a story, like people find me and then like send me a message, and those are like the moments I'm like, wow, like, hi, new best friend, welcome to my Instagram account, which is filled with photos of my face. So nice to meet you. I hope you like my sarcastic, awkward sense of humor. But, you know, I think when I look at like our community, and I don't see myself as someone that's like shaping or influencing other people, to be honest. Like when I do those stories, I just think I'm on here and I'm showing you makeup in my own way. And I really hope that you feel confident to like test out eyeliner. Like, cause I'm not an expert. I did not go to makeup school. My eyeliner tips and tricks are things that I learned along my path and my journey. You know, sometimes my hand is wobbly when I'm doing it, but you know, I hope that watching me do it gives you more confidence to like, hey, if you're at home and you're quarantining, just test out eyeliner. You can just wash it off. If it doesn't work out, you know, it's no big deal. Just wash it off. So I really look at it that way. I guess, wow, that hit me. I've never really thought of myself as someone that's influencing. I just hope you have a good time. If you watch the stories, you enjoy them, you have a good time. And, you know, we have, a couple of other beautiful people that work at Haus Labs that have also been jumping on stories and doing TikToks. And, you know, I think that's the biggest thing about Haus, is it's just such an empowering place. Like, it's like, hey, like, what do you want to do? What's your favorite look? And I'm like, all right. So yeah.
Good job.
It's amazing. Yeah. And I think that's part of just what makes Haus Labs so unique, is that it's so much more than beauty. It's not about the makeup. It's about expressing and, you know, being your true self.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. Haus like came in like a wrecking ball. Like it, honestly, it shook the industry and it still does. And you know, it's just created such a safe place to express yourselves. And just like being on set with Jasmina for that one shoot that we did for the Lippies. Oh my gosh, that was like so next level. And just how you guys were able to manage such a huge production and all the influencers and giving them all the exact same amount of time and just putting so much care and effort and thought behind it. It's like, I just so appreciate that, because usually, you know, I don't have to be on set with 10 of our influencers. I'm handling one influencer or one talent at a time. And even that can be overwhelming.
Yeah.
You know,
well, I think the hugest thing is really like, and you know, this is what I mean by like, you know, just getting to work with awesome people is like, at the end of the day, we're all like, we all want to be loved. We all want to be appreciated. We all want to be given attention and care. And you know, like those are things that we all need in life to a certain amount. And like working, like my job at every company I've ever worked at has only been as fun as it is because of the people that I work with and the influencers I get to work with and the collaborations I get to do. And, you know, and that's why I say like everyone people become my friends, because it's like, it's a real talk conversation. Like,
right.
When I started my career, like the reason I'm here is like really some of the biggest mentors I've ever had have been influencers. Like, you know, because like, you know, you just have a conversation and you're like, we're friends. What do you want to do? Like, what's your 5-year goal? How can I help you? And those are, you know, that's like something that I think I learned I learned it from being in PR for so long, because it's all about just having a conversation. And it's like, what can I do for you? And if it's something I can do and it doesn't hurt, or it's not, you know, it's just like easy, like, why wouldn't I want to do that? Like, why not? You know, like, again, we're friends. Like, why would I not, you know, like if anybody, like, you know, Breanna and I talk all the time about like outfits we want to wear, and we've gone thrifting together and we've gone makeup shopping together. And it's like, you're my friend. So it's like, if you want something, just give me a call and tell me what it is and we'll work on it.
Literally. No, that's amazing. And I love that you said that some of your biggest mentors have been influencers. Have you ever met, like, you're so good. You're so good with people and in every sort of different range of followings. Have you ever met an influencer that you're like, oh shoot, I'm a little bit nervous?
Yeah, like every day. I mean,
oh, I love it.
Yeah, like, yeah, I mean, like, yeah, it's like every time when I meet someone, I'm probably a little bit nervous because, again, like I started out watching, you know, Samantha Ravindal, Desi Perkins.
Oh, yes.
Like I, you know, watched all those YouTube channels before I ever got into what I do. And that's why I'm so thankful that I got to follow my passion. Like it just synced up. And, so yeah, like every time I meet someone, I'm like, man, I remember that first video you did back in the day where you did this. And it's like, so there's a little bit of me that's like, oh my God, I get to be here. You know, I get to do this. Like even like when we had our call with Jasmina, I'm like, oh my God, I'm like, you know, when I first met her, like I was sitting next to her, I'm like,
I know.
And then like we found out we're like the best of friends, but like it was just, you know, like that was like a moment for me too. Like I'm like, oh my God, I'm finally sitting next to you. And like for the longest time I followed you on social and I didn't even know what you looked like because you only did lip art for a while. And
yeah.
You know, and then I was like, this is you. So yeah, like every day.
Yeah. I totally get that. I think because I'll get that question as well. And I think that at one point too, you're just like, you know, we're all human. And I think that if we treat people like the way that we would want to be treated and just be like mellow and, you know, not, you know, being casual and being able to have a conversation, I feel like it totally, you know, puts everybody at like a very even playing field. And it makes, you know, influencers feel comfortable and like, okay, I can actually have a conversation with this person. And I would see that too. Like, I'm so glad that we were able to start early on in the influencer industry, because I feel like that's kind of taken away some of the, I guess, nervousness for me, because I was able to be in a room with like the biggest influencers like Candy and Patrick and, you know, and Jeffrey and Manny and Jacqueline, and, you know, be able to be comfortable enough to go and talk to them. And even like James in the beginning and Bretman. And I just was like, okay, well, these are people, like these are regular people. And, you know, I feel like there's just like so much to be said too, when you're creating these relationships, because you're like, okay, well, it is like a friendship. Like you're kind of saying before, like we're all just such great friends. And it's so true. Like I always kind of describe like my being a manager, which isn't, you know, my approach is not super typical for managers in our industry or agents in our industry. Like I can be the big sister, I can be the little sister, I can be the best friend and the business partner all in one. Mm-hmm. And it's because of the relationships and being able to be relatable, and having conversations with influencers early on, like, okay, I'm a real person and I'm going to treat you like you're a real person too.
Yeah. And like, that's a huge, like, you said it so beautifully, you know, like we're all people. Like, I think, you know, we all want to be spoken to with respect, treated with respect, you know, shown love. So it's, as long as you lead everything that you do with kindness. And again, that's why I say, you know, I always try to lead with kindness, be the best person I can be to others, because really, like, that's what you leave people with, is that's what they remember. They remember your energy, they remember how you interacted with them, and that's what's important.
Yeah, it's like Kourtney Kardashian always says, I just want to live my life. I'm just living life. And that's what everybody's trying to do. I think that also beyond it, you go over and beyond for people. Like when you used to do like tea parties for us, or like used to do like lunches for us. And I think that that's also very important too, for brands to just understand, you can't just send an email these days. You have to have those relationships. You have to make, you know, go out of your way to make them feel special. Absolutely. And even like when we do influencer events ourselves, like we get everything customized and, you know, do what we can, obviously with the budget that we have, but we try to make things so special and so intentional. And those are things that stay with the talent for years from now.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I think, you know, I always think about this. It's like when you're getting, so I used to work in retail for the longest time. And I used to work in like at Lush retail for a long time. And, you know, when you give someone a massage, like a hand massage or an arm massage, you're always thinking about like the touch points, you know, like, and you want to keep, like, that's how you keep someone engaged, is you're having a conversation with them and you're making sure like you're not breaking the connection. And it's the same thing as what you're saying with building a relationship. Like, yes, it is about, you know, like the customized things, but it's also about the touch points and like making sure you're staying connected to that person. Like when you're having a conversation, I like to get past the surface level stuff, and I like go straight into like, are you dating somebody? Ooh, how did you guys meet? How did you fall in love? What did they do to sweep you off your feet? Because it's like, again, those are the touch points. Like that's how you get to know somebody. Or it's like, were you born here? Or did you, you know, like, what was your first job? You know, and you just, because I want to know people. You know, I don't want to just be like, oh, like, what's your favorite thing at this moment? It's like, no, I want to know the core of you, you know? Because
just cut out the small talk, go straight to those deep conversations. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I love that too. And like what you were saying earlier about how your goals aren't really as career focused, but it's more about how do I personally feel, and do I feel fulfilled at this job? So for anyone listening who feel like they might be stuck in a rut in their career, what advice could you give them about like building your dream life and your dream job and being like the architect of that?
Well, I think a huge thing is like looking at your life and then looking at your job as like, is your job like, and this is like, to some people, their job is their goal, you know, like that's their thing. To other people, it's like, what I would say is like, if you're feeling stuck in your role, what can you do outside of your job? Like, what are the things that you have control of that can change your outlook? So does your job, if you're feeling stuck in your job, does your job have to be your number one focus that's taking up the most of your mental energy? So what can you do on the side? Like if it's like you're lacking creativity and you want more creativity, what can you be doing on the side to get you that creative like spark, you know? And what can you be doing to like reignite that? Is it like, do you want to go to a paint store, buy some paint and just paint some things on a piece of paper? Like, is that gonna, like, what will help you de-stress your mind? Like I do sometimes look at my mind as like this thing that's like overstimulated, you know? And it's like, how can I take a step back and really like almost like depuff my mind, you know? And it's like, all right, maybe it's doing something with my hands. Like when I was young, I used to really love redoing my jewelry. So like if I had like a broken necklace, I would take another necklace that I didn't wear anymore and I'd take pieces out of it and piece it together. And like, so it's like, what activity can I be doing to stop my mind from working in a path that I don't want? Mm-hmm. So it's like, if you're feeling stuck, look at the things that can bring you joy outside of that. Because you don't know, maybe one day that thing is going to become your career. Mm-hmm. You know, like maybe one day that is going to be like, and that's how social media really like an influencer started for a lot of people. Like the amount of people that I know that used to work at like a beauty counter and then eventually started doing looks on their channels and now are like the #1 influencers in the world. Like that's how it started. So you don't have to follow a path. You don't have to follow. And I come from a very, you know, household of like, you know, you have to go to school, you have to be a doctor, you have to be a lawyer, you have to be a, you know, like those are the things that you got to do. Like that's from my parents. Like those were the things because it had a lot of stability. Like to them, you can always be a doctor, you know, you can always lawyer, you can start your own firm, you know, so that's like, it's stable. But now we have stability outside in so many different ways. So it's like, look at other outlets that can bring you that joy. And then also like, what's keeping you stuck in your role? Is it, you know, you just can't seem to find another job? Is it, you know, is it something internally that you can do? Like, can you speak to your team and say like, I'm feeling stuck? And, you know, these are like my biggest thing in your career is don't ever go to someone and tell them your problem. Just don't tell them don't go and be like, this is my problem. Mm-hmm. And it's like, be like, this is my problem. This is what I've tried to resolve it and it hasn't worked. Can you give me advice? Or this is my problem. Here are some solutions. How can you help me bring one of them to life? You know? Mm-hmm. So, but like going and saying like, I'm unhappy. And it's like, okay, well, why are you unhappy? Like, you know, and a good manager is going to sit you down and they're going to say like, why are you unhappy? What can we do? You know, but also you have to have thought of your plan of like, I'm unhappy and this is what I need to be happy. You have to come with a solution. So, mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah. So are you an advocate for in your jobs, you know, going to your boss saying, I need a raise. I need to feel more valued. I want to add this to my role. Have you done that in the past in your career?
For sure. And like, absolutely. And I think, you know, I have been a manager and I have been like a reporting into, like, what is that? Like an employee kind of? Yeah. Well, yeah. But, you know, as a manager, I'll say like, sometimes I don't know the struggles, you know, like I don't know what are the things like, and, you know, you can try, you know, as much like, but nobody's perfect. Like you can try and have the conversations of saying, you know, where do you want to grow? What do you want to do? Blah, blah, blah. But also I can't figure out for you what you want your path to be. Because like, mm-hmm. I can tell you in 6 months, you should be a manager. In another year, you should be a senior man. I can't, you know, like some people might not even want to be in PR. Like, it's like, you may have like realized like at like entry level, you're like, I don't like PR. So then it's like, come to me and be like, hey, like, I'm kind of struggling, like to be really transparent. Like, these are the things I'm struggling with. And, you know, it's all about like trust with the person that you work with and say like, I would like to gear my career into events, or I want to gear my career into product development or, you know, whatever it is. And I'll say, okay, well, you know, what's then on my end, I evaluate and I'm like, okay, well, you know, I can't get you a job in those departments, but why don't we schedule meetings where you have visibility into how that department works? So it's all about like a trust relationship that you build with your team. Yeah, I've definitely gone and been proactive and said, hey, this is what I need in order to be successful. I think the times that I have been the most successful is when I show up and I'm like, here's my plan. This is what I've been doing. This is why it's not working. And this is what I need in order for it to make it work. And this is the growth I'm going to see if I see it work. Like, you have to come with facts, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know if anyone watched that.
Yeah. And I think that's something we're looking.
I don't know if you guys have watched the Office episode.
That's something
with Michael asking for a raise. That's the thing. You gotta put your plan together. You know, you gotta be like, this is what we need.
Right. That's so good. No, that's awesome. I think
amen to that.
Yeah, I love what you said too about like managers. A good manager would be like, what can we do to make you happy? I think that's so important because that's something that I learned from, what was his name? David Metzler. And he was saying that too, like your job as a manager is to make sure that everybody around you and the employees are like happy and the staff is happy. And that's very important to keep in mind too, because I don't have a lot of experience that with a manager where they're there to make me, you know, happy. And if it was always kind of like, especially in the beauty industry, like a little bit, you know, catty, like, you know, a little bit like competitive. And more like, okay, well, you can come to me, but like, let's go ahead and gossip and like, you know, and like not get down to, okay, well, how am I being supported? And so that's why I think it's like, so this is what we do in our companies. Like we really try to support, you know, our team as much as possible. And I think that's amazing. And I would love for people to understand too, that managers really need to shift their mindset and make sure that what they're doing is making the employees around them happy. Like that's what being a manager is about.
Yeah. And I agree with that. I think like also like, you know, sometimes you just have to, like, I think like that's what I'm trying to, like, part of like what I'm trying to say is like, everything is a relationship. Like everything is a two-way street, you know? So that's why I say, if you want something, go for it, because you have to communicate with your manager that, you know, you're unhappy or what are the things that are making you unhappy in order for that manager to then turn around and be able to resolve it, you know?
Right.
So it's like, I try my best to always be as loving, as supportive, as I can. But that's like, sometimes I'm like, oh, I didn't know you didn't want to do influencer relations at all. You know, so I think it's, you know, always a two-way street. And we just, like, all of us in this human race could do better with just communicating more. Like we can all communicate. Something's on your heart, communicate it. As long as you're communicating it with kindness, I'm all here for it.
Same. We are too. I am too.
Beautiful. I love that.
Yeah, there's a way to be like direct, and then just a way to be like, just, you know, have some heart behind it, you know? So I appreciate that. I love that. You're amazing.
You're amazing. You're so nice.
Yeah.
Nice. You're making me eat so much.
Oh, well, you're absolutely just such a breath of fresh air. And, you know, any company would just be so like, just blessed and fortunate to have you. And I just love having you like on our team. And I know I can introduce you to anybody and they'll just be like, oh my God, I love Maram. And that just means so much to us. And, you know, we're so appreciative to have you on our podcast today. Is there anything like you want to add about anything?
No, just believe in yourself. Take time out for you. No one knows what you want more than you do. So keep that in mind. And yeah, and you know, hey, if you ever need anything, hit me up on LinkedIn, ask me questions. I'm always here. Hit me up on Instagram. I'm always there. One of my things is, again, I wouldn't be here without all the mentorship that I've had in my career and in my life. And, you know, if I always try to pay it forward. So if someone has ever mentored you and gotten you to the place that you are, please continue to pay it forward. And yeah, that's it.
And plug your socials too, so everyone can follow you.
Oh, my social is Maoudi. So it's Maoudi.
Yes.
Awesome. Well, thank you. I think people are going to listen to this and just feel so inspired and re-energized. And I love how you're just all about, you know, taking time for yourself and making sure that you are fulfilled and you're making a positive impact on the world. It's something that, you know, we can all do more of, and we can all just spread more kindness on social and in our daily lives.
And I love you both, ladies, because you both are the perfect examples of positive energy, kindness, women supporting each other. And I just love you both for that.
Oh, thank you. We love you. You're amazing.
Yeah, we can't wait to just see you continue to kill it and do more amazing things. And we love seeing you on social.
Yes, we do. We love working with you. We love to see it.
Thanks everyone for listening.
All right, everybody. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you guys so much for listening. And if you guys want to follow us, make sure you guys follow us on Instagram at
Ambition for Breakfast with the number 4 on Instagram. And you can follow me and Breanna. I'm at Written by Karen on Instagram.
And I'm at Bree Armstrong.
Thanks so much for listening.